It happened. It finally happened. Cutter Gauthier scored his first in the National Hockey League. And also, the kids were fantastic in a big win against the Detroit Red Wings. We'll talk about all of that and more on this edition of Locked On Anaheim Ducks.
You're Locked On Ducks, your daily podcast on the Anaheim Ducks, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Yeah, that's right. How's it going? Welcome to Locked On Anaheim Ducks, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. I'm your host, Jason Hernandez. I've been covering hockey for over a decade. I'm also the public address voice for the Coachella Valley Firebirds. Yeah, that felt good tonight, folks. This episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more. New customers can place a $5 bet, and you'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. So we're going to talk all about Cutter Gauthier in the first segment, then talk about the game as a whole, and then later on in this podcast, I'm just going to get this off my chest, from my chest, off the back. Let the kids play! Oh, yeah, that felt good. The kids were fantastic in this one against the Red Wings. That'll come in the third segment. But right now, we're going to talk all about Cutter Gauthier. All right, I'm going to start with a little bit of a direct, I guess. I'm going to break the fourth wall, and, well, more than I usually do, and talk directly to you, the fans. Specifically, you, the fans of the Flyers that were hoping for Cutter Gauthier's downfall. And there were a few of you. In fact, let me do this. I don't normally do this, but I'm going to go on the YouTube right now, and I'm going to look at some of the comments from the Cutter Gauthier podcast from earlier this week. Just for fun. Just why not? We're here. This from @FlyersBirds. Cutter Cope. This was a hilarious listen. Is it hilarious now? Is it? Yeah, no more coping here. He got his first. How about this one from Chris Briz? Karma, LOL. Yeah, karma's a what exactly? How's Jamie Drysdale doing for the Flyers right now, by the way? I'll talk about that for maybe 20 seconds in a bit. How about, I love this one from Nate Hustles. Cutter is scoring his first goal today. I'm calling it. It didn't happen. Well, I guess I was wrong. Next time, next game. You know what? I will give Nate Hustle some credit here, who said next one. Well, you know what? You were right on that one. It was the next one. And I love this from D-Rock. Cutter is cursed, Stimpy. Thanks for calling me Stimpy again, by the way. Yeah, Cutter was cursed, no longer cursed because he finally did it. And then I even go back to some of the comments from previous podcasts where I talked about Cutter Gauthier, because it was, yes, there were some fans that thought that he was terrible. All those negative comments, those were pretty much all from Flyers fans that were still coping with the fact that Cutter Gauthier didn't want to be on the Flyers. He doesn't want to be on that team. He wants to be traded. So what's going to happen? He's going to get traded to where? The Ducks. For what? Jamie Drysdale. So I'll just briefly touch on this. How's Jamie Drysdale doing? Not very good for the Flyers. In fact, they're talking about possibly moving on from Jamie Drysdale. I saw this article earlier this morning where it might be done for the Flyers to rely on Jamie Drysdale. In fact, saying that when Cam York is back, they'd rather have Andre out there instead of Jamie Drysdale, who has just not had it. Yes, injuries have taken place, but when he's healthy, he just hasn't clicked in Philadelphia. So I think there's more people saying right now, if you can believe this, that Jamie Drysdale's a bust instead of Cutter Gauthier. Well, yeah, it's not looking so good, Philadelphia, is it? No, it is not. Cutter Gauthier scored his first goal, and that was a beauty of a goal. So a little bit of a stat here. Going into this game, Cutter Gauthier had the most shots and the most shot attempts of all forwards in the National Hockey League without scoring a goal. He was again, he was leading the league in multiple categories, multiple offensive categories, without scoring a goal. Well, he is no longer leading the league in those categories because he did it. It was a beautiful goal too. Went 5-hole on Alex Lyon, who really he got the business tonight. Lyon was shelled for 6 goals on this one. Yeah, I would say that Alex Lyon not exactly having the best season right now. He's barely above 900 in save percentage, above 3 on goals against. So he hasn't been terrible, but he hasn't been great. In his time with the Red Wings, he hasn't been great. Hey, Philly, remember Alex Lyon? Remember when for a brief moment he was going to be part of the future of the Flyers, and what happened there? Am I bagging on the Flyers a little bit in this podcast? Can you tell? Just a little bit. Hey, you know what? They were talking so much crap. A lot of Flyers fans were. Yes, I'm talking directly to you Flyers fans. You were talking a whole lot of crap. No more. No more of that. All right. So Cutter was leading in that category. He's also still leading the team in goals off the post or off the crossbar. Still leading in that category. And I think this has got to come as a massive relief to Cutter Gauthier. In fact, he even said so. Hat tip to Derek Lee on this one. Once again, if you're not already following Derek Lee, give him a follow. So Derek Lee put this tweet up on Cutter Gauthier's first NHL goal from Cutter Gauthier. Quote, "It was a dream come true. Against the hometown team, Detroit. It was a surreal moment. I'm just so pumped." End quote. Love that. Love the enthusiasm. Love the excitement. Love the look on his face, but mostly the look on his teammates' faces when he scored that first goal. I mean, yeah, Cutter looked excited, but dang, just to see the look on everyone else's face on the bench, his teammates. Trevor Zegras, he just had this obnoxiously giddy look on his face when Cutter Gauthier went down the high five, the handshake line at the Anaheim bench. Zegras may have been the most excited out of everybody on the bench. That kind of sheepish, like boyish, just happy-go-lucky smile. We haven't seen that from Trevor Zegras a whole lot this season, and you just love to see that. And it finally took his 17th career National Hockey League game. It didn't take 100 or so, like certain other players that I talked about on that podcast. By the way, just one more time, if you haven't listened already, this is now out of date, but I did a podcast 3 days ago now titled Cutter Gauthier Might Be the Unluckiest Player in the NHL. If you haven't listened to that already, go ahead and give that a listen. I throw out a whole bunch of stats as to why Cutter Gauthier has been unlucky and how long it would take. Well, there it goes. 17 games. That's exactly how long it took. Also, Cutter Gauthier so far this season, still pretty solid stats. 6 points in 16 games. It's not terrible. Still one of his better games, but also one of his better all-around games. He was kind of all over the place a little bit on this one, so I got to give credit where credit's due on this one. As far as just individual Ducks on this one, Cutter Gauthier, he only... I say this kind of tongue-in-cheek, kind of not. Cutter Gauthier only had 4 shot attempts on this one. Only 1 registered shot on goal. Can you believe Frank Vatrano had 10 shot attempts on this one? So Vatrano's pulling a Cutter on this one. But when he made that play, first off, a perfect pass on the receiving end, but Gauthier received that puck perfectly. As he skated in, and this is probably my favorite thing about this goal, just in general, as he was skating in, he had already kind of broken away and found himself kind of one-on-one, kind of not. He did have Brett Leeson kind of to his side, kind of not. And Cutter Gauthier decided, and this was the right decision, by the way. Cutter Gauthier looked to his right very briefly, and as he looked to his right, and I noticed this right away, he did a very slight, like he kind of raised his stick a little bit, almost as if he was maybe going to pass it, maybe not. And Alex Lyon very slightly moved from his position. So I don't know if that was intended or not, but that little, like that very, very minute move got Alex Lyon's pad slightly up off the ground, and Cutter Gauthier just saw that tiny bit of daylight and went for it. That's what you have to do if you're going to be an aggressive goal scorer, is you have to look for that little bit of daylight and take advantage. And he did right there. Alex Lyon was caught leaning, pad slightly up, and Cutter went 5-hole on that one. So a perfect goal, a perfect moment. Once again, congratulations to Cutter Gauthier on scoring his first and certainly not last in the National Hockey League. And this was even on the post game. Oh gosh, this was just so great, by the way. So the 3 stars on this game were all the youngsters for the Ducks. Again, let the kids play. I know I've said it a million times, but the 3 stars on this one, you had Drew Helleson, Cutter Gauthier, Olen Zellweger. Olen Zellweger was interviewed after the game, and he was asked about Cutter Gauthier's first goal. And he immediately said, we were all excited for him, but that's not going to be his last. He's going to score goals. And I love that from his teammate, talking him the hell up. I love that. Everybody in the locker room, just from initial reports, have been talking up Cutter Gauthier so much, and pretty much all of them saying the same thing. The dam is broken. Now that he got his first, watch out rest of the league. He's going to start scoring, and it could be in bunches. So, Cutter Gauthier, congrats, buddy. We're going to head to the first intermission, and we're going to talk about this big 6-4 win against the Red Wings on this post-game postcast. Stay locked in. Now, a brief word from Mint Mobile. I love a great deal as much as the next guy, but I'm not going to crawl through a bed of hot coals or, maybe just walk through those hot coals. I'm not going to freeze in the Antarctic just to save a few bucks. It has to be easy. No hoops, no BS. So when Mint Mobile said it was easy to get wireless for $15 a month with the purchase of a 3-month plan, I had to call them out on this. Turns out it really is that easy to get wireless for $15, that's Ryan Getzloff's number, a month. The longest part of the process was the time I spent on hold waiting to break up with my old provider. Oh, and all plans come with high-speed data and unlimited talk and text delivered on the nation's largest 5G network. You can use your own phone with any Mint Mobile plan and bring your phone number along with all your existing contacts. So to get this new customer offer and your new 3-month premium wireless plan for just $15 a month, go to mintmobile.com/lockedonnhl. That's mintmobile.com/lockedonnhl. Cut your wireless bill to $15 a month at mintmobile.com/lockedonnhl. We're also brought to you by Omaha Steaks. All right, I love a good steak, and nothing delivers comfort and joy quite like the unrivaled quality and taste of Omaha Steaks. This year, skip the holiday hustle and bustle and save half off gourmet gifts site-wide at omahasteaks.com. Plus, get a $30 reward card when you shop early and score an extra $30 off with promo code NHL. With 5 generations of experience, they consistently deliver the world's best steak experience, and the gifting experts at Omaha Steaks have made it easy to deliver the perfect gift with thoroughly curated gift packages starting at $89.99. From legendary steaks to mouth-watering desserts and more. My mouth is watering now. Save 50% off site-wide at omahasteaks.com. Plus, our listeners get an extra $30 off with promo code NHL and a $30 reward card when you shop early. That's half off at omahasteaks.com and an extra $30 off with promo code NHL. Minimum purchase may apply. Oh boy, my mouth is watering, and yet I'm going to drink water here. What a win. Oh my goodness. I'm going to let this soak in for y'all for a few seconds while I drink this celebratory water. Is it soaked in yet? Yeah, the Ducks scored 6 goals on this one. Most goals they've scored all season. Hallelujah. Yeah, the offense woke up. And hey, you know what? The power play woke up. I love that I tweeted. For those of you Disney fans, and if you live around the Anaheim area, you're probably Disney fans because you live right by Disneyland. I did that little gif from Hook, one of my favorite all-time movies. Oh, there you are, Peter. Well, that's exactly how I felt when I saw the power play working. I'm like, oh, there's the power play. There it is. You gotta love it. So how did we get to this 6-4 game? Well, it's easy. They scored more goals. Okay. So right off the top, stop me if you've heard this one before. The Ducks got out to an early lead, and then subsequently, oh wait, I'm sorry. Those are still the notes from yesterday's podcast, which I'm now gonna toss away. Oh, what happened? Okay. So yeah, the Ducks scored early. In fact, they scored in the first minute and a half of the game, and then subsequently blew that lead, just like the goals on Wednesday night, just like the Ducks on Wednesday night, because they blew that lead quickly, both on the power play for Detroit and the Ducks penalty kill. Marco Kasper scored his first on the power play. So I will give congrats where congrats is due, because I already gave someone his flowers earlier. I gave Cutter his flowers. So I will give Marco Kasper his flowers as well. He was the 8th pick overall in the 2022 draft. Very highly touted, one of the top prospects for the Red Wings. He finally got his first goal of his NHL career. By the way, in only 13 games. Cutter, you're slacking. I'm kidding, Cutter. But it took 13 games for Marco Kasper to get his first in the NHL, to make it a 1-1 tie. So congrats to Marco Kasper on his first. And then Jonathan Bergen scored on a 2-man advantage for the Red Wings, because of course they scored on a 2-man advantage. The Ducks PK just looked horrendous all game long. So 2-1 Detroit. Then first minute of the second period, Lucas Raymond scores. And all of a sudden, and this was the stupidest goal of the entire game. This one, I legit thought when this game was scored, I went, not this crap again. This one made me mad. Pavel Mintyukov has had some pretty solid games this season. This ain't one of them. Nope, this wasn't. Minty turned the puck over. He just gave the puck. He just handed it on a silver platter to Alex DeBrincat, who passed it to a streaking Lucas Raymond, who got the easy goal. Minty, he gave away that pass, and then he just got beat on the defense by Lucas Raymond. Both Minty and Gudas, they just looked flat-footed on defense. They both got beat by Lucas Raymond. So that made it 3-1 Red Wings. Yeah, I said it in my head. No, not again. I did say that out loud. Like, here we effing go again. But with a couple minutes left, a glimmer of hope. The power play woke up. Trevor Zegras. Well, first off, great drawing of the penalty on that one by Olen Zellweger. And that directly resulted in a Trevor Zegras goal, his second of the season. That was a nice looking goal too. I mean, that was top shelf where Mama hides the cookies. 3-2 Detroit. But I think my favorite thing about that play was Olen Zellweger's pass. That pass might have been one of the more beautiful passes of the entire season. Just loved it. So just to kind of break down this play. So Zellweger kind of streaking in on the left side and kind of reaches around the defense and found a wide open Trevor Zegras, who didn't look super enthused at the point because they were still losing. But man, what a pass. So I gotta give massive ups to Olen Zellweger on this one, going around the defense on the power play. 3-2 Ducks. Then we go to the third period. The Ducks were losing 3-2 going into the third, so it didn't look all that great. Also, the following power play, it went awry. Troy Terry could have gotten a pass, did not. So I'm thinking, oh, crap. But then we go into the third. Troy Terry. Sorry, I got to give his proper name. Troy Vetchkin. Just with a super fast shot, right on the money. And that tied things up at 3. Olen Zellweger passing it from the point. A perfect, if there was a definition of a perfect quarterbacking of the power play, that was it. Olen Zellweger drew the defense, looked around, and then made the correct pass to Troy Terry. That tied things up at 3. I was super excited about that one. Troy Terry kind of held the puck and kind of looked off for a split second. That was a perfect one. So that tied it up at 3. Then, after some confusion as to where the heck Trevor Zegras was, the Cutter Gauthier goal. What made that goal, I think, was the patient stretch pass from Drew Helleson, who just got called up, by the way. Stretch pass from Drew Helleson and the finish from Cutter Gauthier to get his first of the season, or first in his career, 4-3. Then Ross Johnston on a weird deflection from Jansen Harkins. That's Ross Johnston's first of the season, 5-3 Anaheim. Power play again, Alex DeBrincat scored 5-4. But then Ryan Strome down the middle, empty netter, 6-4 is your final score. Frank Vetrano, a super unselfish pass. Frank did have an open lane. He probably could have shot it in, but he didn't, so that makes it 6-4 Anaheim Ducks. That is your final score, and the Ducks win their final game, 2 of their last 3 on this homestand. So 2 out of 6. It could be worse. It's better than a kick in the pants, right? We're going to head to the second intermission, and we're going to talk about the kids, and it's going to be fun. We'll get to that on the other side. Now a brief word from FanDuel. That is America's #1 sportsbook. Right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if you win. The FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to place live bets on the NBA. The NBA Cup is going on, and the NHL all in one place. So if you get a feeling in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today. You'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. That's FanDuel.com. Never waste a hunch and make every moment more with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the Locked On Podcast Network. And please gamble responsibly. We're also brought to you by the Gametime app. Look, I have talked about the Gametime app several times on this very podcast. And, you get hyped up for these games. You get hyped up for these events. The feel of the crowd around you. Well, nobody gives you that opportunity to check all that out more than the Gametime app, which is the #1 spot to get all your tickets for sporting events, concerts, and also watch parties, by the way. Because get this, those of you that live in SoCal, there's a big watch party going on tomorrow. That is right. Gametime has tickets available for the watch party held at COSM, COSM, that's in Inglewood, by the way. That's tomorrow night. And, there's tickets, there's general admission tickets to the ultimate UFC 309 watch party at COSM this Saturday. If you haven't been there before, they have that huge dome where you could get a 360-degree view of the action at UFC 309. That is tomorrow night, Saturday night. So, Gametime is the only place to get the best deals on tickets and the best place to get your general admission tickets for the UFC 309 watch party at COSM this Saturday night. So, if you haven't already, take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Gametime. Download the app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and use code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off. Download Gametime today. What time is it? Game time. Let's talk about the kids. I think I need to kind of warm up to do this one because this one I'm going to yell So, puppy, cover your ears. Fans, cover your ears. Might blow out the mic here. Give me a second here. You ready? Let the kids play! Woo! Oh, that one felt good, folks. All the kids were terrific on this one. In fact, 3 kids were the 3 stars in this one, and I'm going to talk about all 3 of them. I'm going to talk about more than just these 3. I already talked about the number 2 star in this game, Cutter Gauthier, first career goal, but I want to talk about the number 1 star first, Olen Zellweger. One of his best games of the season, 1 goal, 2 assists, a 3-pointer. Swish, it is good. Olen Zellweger did have kind of a not so great penalty at the end of the game, but he also drew an important penalty on Marco Kasper, and that was the penalty that directly led to Zegras' goal, the power play goal in the second period. And oh, by the way, Zellweger not only drew the penalty, but had that filthy pass for the power play goal. So that was assist number 1. Assist number 2 on the Troy Terry goal I just mentioned. So what I loved about this play, not just the patience of Olen Zellweger, but also the wherewithal to really kind of look around on that entire power play. And this is something that he was doing all night. He did that on the Zegras goal. He did that on the Troy Terry goal, is he really did scan around quite a bit and really looked for the perfect pass. He didn't quite go for the home run pass, but he went for the correct pass. And he also did it in a way that kind of drew the defense on their heels a little bit. Not really like a no-look pass, but kind of like a, look one way, kind of like, okay, am I going to pass it here? No. There was a slight hitch to one of his passes tonight that led the defense on the wrong side. So Zell's doing good on that, but his quarterbacking of the power play tonight was just so brilliant. So I got to give credit to Zell's all night long. Now one of the other kids I got to talk about, Drew Helleson. Do I consider Drew Helleson a quote unquote kid? Well, he is 23 years old. He is still one of those under 24 players. So yeah, I guess you could consider him one of the older kids, but he's still a kid, only 23 years old, only his, 4th NHL game, and solid on defense with the San Diego goals. He was definitely brought in to fill a role because there's been a bunch of injuries on the Ducks, especially recently. There's been a ton of injuries for Anaheim, which I will get to. I'll get to that right now because that's why he drew in. Pun intended. Drew in because of all these injuries, and I'll just talk about that for a brief second. Multiple players went on the injured list in the past couple of days. We had, you ready for this? We had Robbie Fabry going on the injured list, Cam Fowler, Mason McTavish, and another defenseman, Earl Vakanainen. So immediately you've got a couple of defensemen, a couple of fairly important defensemen. For what it's worth, I hear a couple of you fans groaning, Cam Fowler's important. He's been awful. Vax is on. Okay, you know what? I'm just going to stop you there right now. They do eat up time, and they are defensemen. But both of those guys being out gave Drew Helleson a shot, and he delivered on this one big time. He was solid pretty much all game long. 2 important assists on this game. So the first important assist was that stretch pass on Cutter Gauthier's first career goal. Can I just talk about this stretch pass just by itself for a minute? Because I think this was probably my favorite play of the game. And I had a lot of favorite plays of the game. Trevor Zegras, the reverse check, that was amazing. But the stretch pass, that was a patient stretch pass from Drew Helleson as he gathered the puck. So first, he got the puck around the horn on kind of like a little back pass. And Drew Helleson went behind John Gibson, skated it around, skated it just outside the defensive zone, and had a nice little stretch pass from blue line to blue line. And there was Cutter Gauthier with the perfect receive of that pass. It had just enough zip where it got past someone on defense. So it had a bit of zip to it, but not too fast where it's going to like bounce off his stick or skate. And also that was right on the money, right on the tape. For what it's worth, Drew Helleson is a very effective, very accurate passer. He always has been. So to see that materialize in his first NHL game of the season, I got to give Drew Helleson big props for this one. So that was perfect. And then you had that little pass, not a tic-tac-toe, but perfect pass to Jansen Harkins, who got it towards the net, and Ross Johnson tipping it in. So Drew Helleson, 2 big assists on this one. Very much earned 3rd star on this game, so congrats to him on this. Other youngsters, before we wrap up, Trevor Zegras, still considered a youngster, got that top shelf goal, which was brilliant. I talked about Cutter Gauthier. Leo Carlson, another kid, 2 assists on this one. He could have gotten a star on this one. Leo Carlson was quietly good in this game. I didn't see anything wrong with Leo Carlson's game. He wasn't like super like visible in this game, but he was quietly good and quietly effective. And that's fine too. That's really fine. So those are the kids to talk about, all with great games. I haven't looked at hockey stat cards yet, but you know what? Let's look right now just for the heck of it. Top game scores on this one. Olen Zellweger, a 3-game score. That's really good, folks. Drew Helleson, 2.45. Cutter Gauthier, 1.86. All very good scores. So once again, let the kids play. All right. I think that's going to wrap it up for this podcast. I want to thank you all for listening. Thanks for watching. Don't forget, this podcast is free and available across all platforms, including Stitcher, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, etc. You could follow me on Twitter X at StimpyJD. The show's Twitter X is at LO_Ducks. Thanks for making this your first listen. Go ahead and make Locked On NHL your second listen. Got some great hosts on the national podcast, so be sure to check it out. Also, subscribe on YouTube if you have not already. And what else? Oh yeah, ad-free on Amazon, SiriusXM, YouTube, all that fun stuff. Email address, lockedonanaheimducks@gmail.com. I'm going to open up the mailbag again very soon. Once again, thank you all for your continued support. It is so greatly appreciated. For Locked On Anaheim Ducks, I'm Jason Hernandez saying have a great weekend, folks. You deserve a good weekend after that Ducks win. Please remember to be safe out there. Please be kind to one another. Please be kind to yourselves. And Ducks, fly together. And one more time, congrats, Cutter Gauthier. You deserve it, buddy.